Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. You're watching the Maverick News Channel, and I am Rick Walker. On this Canada Day 2024, I'm going to torture you later because it's Canada Day and Chrystia Freeland took to the stage in Ottawa. I'm going to do it. Can't stop me. Well, you could change the channel. We're going to critique what she had to say in the nation's capital on this Canada Day as she introduced the Prime Minister. But don't worry, we have other things to share with you today. A lot of it pretty negative, pretty dark. Steve Bannon going to jail. Unbelievable. Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, I shouldn't even laugh. Anyway, more documents dumped today, 150 pages. We have them. We'll take a look. We have video too inside the residence of Jeffrey Epstein. What else do we have? Pride chaos. Washington Square Park shut down after fights. Huge fights broke out. Somebody got shot after Pride events in New York City. More Pride chaos in Toronto. Pierre Poilievre saying axe the tax. And around 7:45 tonight, apparently, Joe Biden is supposed to address the nation to talk about Trump, this court ruling today that says former presidents do have complete immunity from prosecution for official acts, but not for unofficial acts. For private acts, no. Official acts as president, yes. So this is a huge win for Trump, a huge win, and Biden I think, eager to get back in front of the camera with a teleprompter to, to control the damage from his catastrophic debate. He's I think this is largely what it's about. It's about trying to get back in front of a camera so that he can to show America he is actually able to speak like a human being and put sentences together in ways that make sense. Of course, with teleprompter, it's a lot easier. Without a teleprompter in a debate, not so easy. When you're suffering from dementia. Anyway, we have all that and more coming up right here on the Maverick News Channel, so do not go away. I will be right back, and we'll dig right into the top stories of the day.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV.
The entire world is watching.
On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
So I do have the feed for the Biden address at 7:45 queued up. When they go live, we will go live. We will bring that to you direct. He is going to talk about this Supreme Court ruling that certainly will benefit Donald Trump. But before we get into anything else tonight, let's talk about this. The Epstein documents, 150 additional pages released. This is not a certified copy. I will endeavor to get this up on the Maverick News website at mavericknews.ca. I'll do that after this broadcast tonight. Get this up, and you can see there's a whole lot of reading to do here. And I will do my best to get you the highlights on this. So what do I know so far? Well, I know that over 150 pages of transcripts from this 2006 grand jury investigation and allegations against Jeffrey Epstein have now been made public, and you are looking at them. Circuit Judge Louis Delgado of the 15th Judicial Court of Florida ordered the release of Governor Ron DeSantis after Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill back in February permitting the documents release as of today, July 1st. Jeffrey Epstein, the former millionaire financier, charged with sex trafficking minors in 2019, died by suicide, allegedly, in a New York City jail while he was awaiting trial. A lot of questions surrounding that death, and these newly released documents pertain to a 2006 investigation into sex trafficking and rape allegations in South Florida. Epstein's 2008 plea deal allowed him to plead guilty to lesser state charges, resulting in an 18-month sentence. This deal has faced widespread criticism for its leniency. Palm Beach County Clerk Joseph Abruzzo stated that releasing these documents ensures transparency for both the local and international communities. He expressed hope that the release provides peace of mind and closure to Epstein's victims. The journey to unseal these documents began in 2019 when the Palm Beach Post requested their release. Judge Delgado's order highlighted the public interest and the significant changes to state law that allowed for the documents' release. The documents revealed disturbing details of Epstein's actions, including using children to recruit more victims. Epstein's case has remained a significant point of public interest and controversy, shedding light on his widespread criminal activities. Since Epstein's death, multiple documents related to the sexual abuse accusations have been released, including hundreds of pages back in January related to a lawsuit by Virginia Giuffre against Ghislaine Maxwell. Maxwell, Epstein's former girlfriend, was sentenced to 20 years in prison in 2022 for sex trafficking and other charges. High-profile names, including Donald Trump, Victoria's Secret founder Leslie Wexner, appear in the documents, though being named does not imply wrongdoing. And I should stress that. Now, Prince Andrew has also been implicated with allegations of sexual encounters with Giuffre when she was 17 years old, a claim he still denies. So that's where things are at with that. Now, I haven't had time to go through all of this. I do hope that we're going to get some more information fed in here this evening. And as I get more information, you will get more information on what exactly is in these documents. And I will try to zero in on that as the broadcast continues this evening. Steve Bannon off to court. Unbelievable. The former Trump advisor surrendered to law enforcement today to begin his 4-month prison sentence for contempt of Congress. He arrived at the Federal Correctional Institute, Danbury, in Connecticut, just before noon to start serving his time. Here's what it looked like. I've got video. Unbelievable. I can't believe this is happening in America. Here he is arriving. And there's more after this.
For every conservative this is what happens in the last days of a dying regime. They will never shut me up. They'll have to kill me first. I have not yet begun to fight.
Merrick Garland, Lisa Monaco, the entire Justice Department. They're not going to shut up Trump. They're not going to shut up Navarro. They're not going to shut up Bannon. And they're certainly not going to shut up MAGA.
Okay. So I'll pull out of that, but that's the only video that I had of him actually and from that angle at the moment. So I'll share, now that I've shared that, let's go over here. And we have other video. Here's the media scrum news conference, impromptu or whatever. Media scrum. Phone call coming in. Let me run a promo. I'll be right back.
Fighting the Great Reset by leading the Great Resistance. Maverick News. The antivirus programs for your mind.
Sorry, folks. Incoming. That's what that was. All right, let's pick up this this story with Bannon again. This is the media scrum from today. Can you hear any of that? Loud. That's Marjorie Taylor Greene for people just listening on the audio podcast.
If it took me going to prison, remember the reason I chose Danbury, I asked for Danbury for a very specific reason. Back in the only other person that's ever been sent to prison for a congressional subpoena, not going to a house subpoena, for contempt, held in contempt, was Rig Lardner Jr. Back in the 1940s, during the House Un-American Activity investigation, Columbia Studio fired him, because of his political beliefs. And then he was found guilty. They sent it to the DOJ. He was sent to prison. He was sent to this prison. That's why I requested Danbury, because there's no difference.
You can't hear anything he's saying. He's saying basically that he chose the prison specifically for a specific reason because there was a previous political prisoner back in the 1940s who went there. And he's, vowing to continue to fight, says that he will still have a voice even while in prison. And he has made provisions, made arrangements to have his live streams, his podcast continue in his absence over the next 4 months. Of course, his daughter involved, I believe, and here's what he had to say on, I think, this final broadcast.
Honey Badger stepping up to the plate. I'm telling you, next man up. We got
War
this
room.
or what? We got this?
We do.
Baby honey
we
badger.
do. You can take a 4-month relaxation. We got this.
Every day I will make sure that my voice is heard. They can't shut us down. But hey, the running day-to-day operation of this is going to be fantastic. Honey Badger stepping up to the plate. I'm telling you, next man up.
So there's Bannon. His daughter's got it. It's not a problem. She's gonna take care of it. And but wait, there's more. So Bannon going to prison, and on his way in, he holds essentially a full-scale, full-bore, all no holds barred political rally. Here he is.
Going to prison today. I am proud to go to prison. If this is what it takes to stand up to tyranny, if this is what it takes to stand up to the Garland, corrupt, criminal DOJ, if this is what it takes to stand up to Nancy Pelosi, if this is what it takes to stand up to Joe Biden, I'm proud to do it.
Bravo.
Father, can you say a few words?
I'm not authorized to talk to the media.
You're not?
No.
Well, thank you for coming.
I agree with your positions, and I'll be praying for you. I'm in the St. Ignatius Retreat House, 15 minutes away.
You are?
Yeah, I'll get you whatever you need.
Father, don't pray for me. Pray for our enemies.
Yeah.
Right? Pray.
They need
They're the ones who are going to need the prayers. Thank you, Father.
Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and the snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who wander through the world seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. Ave Maria Purissima. God bless you.
Pray for America, I would say. Sad day indeed when you see someone going to prison essentially for political reasons. Yeah, he's a political prisoner, make no mistake. Where was I with this? Hang on here just a moment. That phone call threw me for a loop. Okay, hang on a second here. I'll be right back. I need to fix something, but I'll return right after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so just to clarify, it was on Friday that the Supreme Court denied Bannon's request to stay out of prison during his appeals process. And it was an emergency appeal on Friday, but it was no go. So he was sentenced to 4 months back in October of 2022. He was found guilty at that time of defying a subpoena from the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol, such as it was, demonstration, whatever, however you want to look at it. It was one heck of a show. So you saw what he did there before going into prison, but that's where he is now. And again, he has assured his supporters that he will continue to back former President Donald Trump's presidential campaign from prison, and promised that his War Room podcast will be bigger and better than ever. He declared that what he is part of is a populist movement, and he said, "Victory or death, it's time for me to surrender up at Danbury." And you saw him walking in there. And it is a landmark day, not just because of that, but also because of, on the other side of the ledger, a win in court for President Trump. So today, it was a significant ruling that could impact, oh, sorry, hang on a second here. That's the EPA thing. Yeah, I had images up. I'll get to that later. But no, what we're dealing with here now is a landmark ruling. Supreme Court ruled that President Donald Trump is entitled to some immunity, well, in fact, immunity from federal prosecution for official actions, as I said earlier, taken while in office. So it was a 6-3 ruling divided along ideological lines at the Supreme Court. It overturns a federal appeals court decision which had concluded that Trump is not entitled to such broad immunity. Chief Justice John Roberts, writing for the majority, clarified that while former presidents have sweeping legal protections for official acts, they are not immune from prosecution for unofficial acts. So this ruling expands presidential power by extending immunity from criminal prosecutions to former presidents for their official conduct. However, the court rejected Trump's claim for absolute immunity unless impeached and convicted by Congress. The court's decision has significant implications for the upcoming election season, potentially delaying the start of Trump's criminal trial in Washington, D.C. Trump facing charges related to efforts to overturn the 2020 election has entered a plea of not guilty. He hailed the Supreme Court's decision today as a big win for our Constitution and democracy. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, joined by Justices Elena Kagan and Ketanji Brown Jackson, strongly dissented, warning that the decision creates a dangerous precedent by insulating presidents from criminal liability for official acts and accused the majority of putting the president above the law. As the nation grapples with the ramifications of this decision, we'll continue to follow the story very closely and keep you up to date. Now, why would the Supreme Court rule in such a manner? I would argue that presidents need to be immune from prosecution for official acts because what they're dealing with is an international reality and international law, which is essentially no law at all except what can be enforced through coercion or external bodies or entities like the ICC, ICJ. If the country puts its or defers or cedes sovereignty to those kinds of entities to hold a president accountable for actions conducted in an official capacity, you are essentially giving up the national sovereignty of the country. It's a complicated concept in law and politics, but that is also political realism. You have to understand that there are people out there in the world who want to kill us, who also want to kill the president. And the president of the United States, in that position, leader of the free world, absolutely needs a free hand to conduct him or herself without fear of legal repercussions at home or abroad when deciding to take action that could result in even killings or death. If the president decides to launch an airstrike against an adversary or to order the killing of a terrorist, need to be able to react quickly sometimes in order to protect the country. And a president needs the ability, I would say, in the United States in particular, to act unilaterally and act on his or her own, just because of the reality of existing in a world where other countries want to take a piece out of you all the time. That's the reality. It's not a comfortable reality, but it is reality, and that's why you need to make sure you are electing someone that you have a high level of confidence in to do the right things. I'm not sure we're there. Pretty sure we're not, especially after seeing the debate performance. But it is what it is. What are we going to do? Will Joe Biden hang in there? His family encouraging him to do just that, and we will be going to that live feed of Joe Biden in about 15 minutes, I expect, where he will be addressing the nation to talk about this very ruling. It will be interesting to see what he has to say about it, because that immunity will also extend to him, both now and in the future, as an ex-president, probably sooner than he realizes, or is hoping. But it will have a direct impact on him as well. I don't know if you guys are even understanding what I'm saying about the need for immunity. You know, Nixon said, I'm not a crook. And there was, and I think, what was his famous quote? He said, you know, basically that the law, it's not illegal when the president does it. It was the same kind of argument back then for some of his actions while he was being investigated for Watergate, in the Watergate situation. And there was a lot of controversy surrounding that. And a lot of people say, well, the president isn't above the law, can't be above the law. When you're the president of the United States, I think that, yeah, you definitely, different rules apply. They absolutely must apply. For the reasons I've already stated. If you can't understand that, then I guess we need a broader discussion, because it is actually a complicated, I guess in a way it is complicated, and yet it's kind of simple. You know, if the president orders someone murdered inside the country, a citizen, for instance, like, that's unacceptable. That wouldn't necessarily be an official act. But if there's some military threat, or, you know, when Trump ordered that strike that took out Soleimani, is that something that he should be held accountable for and go to prison for? I guess it depends on what lens you look at that through, right? If you don't like Trump, don't like America, if you're on Soleimani's side, that's a crime. If you're on America's side, maybe not. But that's why the president needs to be able to act without fear of prosecution, because he needs to be able to make those life and death decisions, sometimes at the, you know, on the spur of the moment, and react to something quickly. Launch this missile, or send these fighter jets over. If he hesitates, it could cost a lot of American lives. As we learn more about the ruling and the implications, we'll keep you updated. All right, let's take a look at what else is going on here tonight. We've got more Pride event chaos. So down in the US of A, a lot of people upset. I got to tell you, like I said yesterday, it is actually beginning to look, well, it's not beginning, it does, it largely looks to me like a circus. The bright colors, the makeup, the costumes, the antics, but it's like an X-rated circus, you know? And it's out in public, and that, it's because you've got all the nudity in public. That's the thing I take exception to. Really, it's the nudity in public. And in some cities, it goes even beyond that. They're actually performing sex acts in public in front of kids. Now, this stuff is blurred out. This footage, I'll share it with you. But as you can see, I think this is in San Francisco, I believe. Can't be sure. But anyway.
These people are naked. In front of kids. There's a little kid right here. Got people with their junk hanging out.
Wow. And, you know, it's pushing people into corners. As I said yesterday, this stuff I think is going to backfire on the progressive side. In the end, it's going to hurt the LGBTQS plus community, because people are beginning to push back. Not just beginning. The pushback has started a while ago, but it's really, it's just ramped right up. This is Savannah Hernandez. I know that a lot of you are familiar with her journalism, and she's taking a stand on this. This is her position.
Okay, I feel physically ill after spending the day at San Francisco Pride. Now, I've been to quite a few Pride events, but this one was by far the most disturbing, and it was because there were nudists there that were fully erect in front of children, standing in a way to make sure that everybody saw their fully exposed penises. There were adults grabbing other people's genitals, and other adults masturbating. There was a fetish zone in which people were peeing on each other. So again, too, I'm shocked and horrified after experiencing this. Keep in mind that this is an all ages event. There were children present. The fetish zone was an 18+ area, but there were no IDs being checked. And again, there were adults essentially having sex in public. I am shocked. I've never experienced such a vulgar display of promiscuity. I mean, I don't even know what to say in terms of this. I'm shocked and horrified, and I don't think I'm ever going to cover Pride ever again after what I witnessed today. It was the worst of the worst. It was bad.
Yeah, they just keep pushing the envelope, right? And now they're past the envelope. The envelope is open, and the letter was delivered, opened, and they just keep escalating, putting it right out into people's faces in a way that is getting people upset. And so in New York, over the last day, we've seen chaos because of Pride events. Washington Square Park shut down after fights broke out, serious fights, and one person shot, taken to hospital, and recovering. At last word, still alive, but shot in the buttocks and seriously hurt. And this is what the chaos looked like in Washington Square Park. This park now shut down by authorities because of this. Is this the Jerry Springer show? No, this is the park. Everybody's shooting this on video, live streaming this thing out, I guess. Look at all the phones. Well, this is our society today. What is that guy doing to that lamppost? What was that guy doing to the lamppost? Wow. Nothing seems to make any sense. Because while that is supposed to be acceptable behavior, I guess, nudity in public, down the street, during parades, kids present, I found this story today, which just makes me shake my head. Let me see if I can find it here for you. It's about soccer match. Right here. So it's okay to run around in public, apparently fully erect, and in some U.S. cities, I guess, actually perform sex acts in public. Some of them, from what I've been, apparently pretty disgusting stuff. I won't even get into it because I don't really want to talk about it here, because it's not even just sex. It's like depravity. But anyway, look at this. Possible indecent gesture at Euro 2024 game under investigation. England star Jude Bellingham is being investigated by UEFA over a potentially offensive gesture made during a European Championship win against Slovakia. They said Monday it appointed a disciplinary inspector to look at, quote, a potential violation of the basic rules of decent conduct. Bellingham seemed to make a gesture, it says here, with his hand toward his crotch after scoring an acrobatic stoppage time equalizer before England went on to win 2-1 in extra time Sunday. Bellingham's overhead kick with about 80 seconds left in the game saved England from a humiliating exit in the first knockout round. If he's charged, Bellingham, in this disciplinary case, risks being suspended for the quarterfinal against Switzerland on Saturday. However, judging by similar cases in the past, the England and Real Madrid midfielder is likely to escape with a fine if he is disciplined. So, okay to run around in public, but if you're a soccer player and you do that, you could get suspended and you'll certainly get fined. You see what I mean? Everything is upside down. Crazy stuff, in my opinion. But hey, what do I know? Maybe I'm just an old prude. I thought I was pretty open-minded about stuff, but this stuff, for me, it's just going too far. And I don't think it does anybody any favors. So Biden should be speaking very shortly. The feed is live. It's coming in. He hasn't arrived yet. I'm monitoring. So we'll get to him at the live feed of Joe Biden, I believe, straight from the White House tonight, discussing the Supreme Court ruling on presidential immunity. Stay with me. I will return right after this.
Hello, world. Are you awake? Uniting humankind by liberating millions of minds at a time. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Not only face moments when you need the courage to exercise full power of the presidency, you also face moments where you need the wisdom to respect the limits of the power of the office of the presidency. This nation was founded on the principle that there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States. With today's Supreme Court decision on presidential immunity, that fundamentally changed. For all practical purposes, today's decision almost certainly means that there are virtually no limits on what a president can do. This is a fundamentally new principle, and it's a dangerous precedent. because the power of the office will no longer be constrained by the law, even including the Supreme Court of the United States. The only limits will be self-imposed by the President alone. This decision today has continued the court's attack in recent years on a wide range of long-established legal principles in our nation, from gutting voting rights and civil rights, to taking away a woman's right to choose, to today's decision that undermines the rule of law of this nation. Nearly 4 years ago, my predecessor sent a violent mob to the U.S. Capitol to stop the peaceful transfer of power. We all saw it with our own eyes. We sat there and watched it happen that day. Attack on the police, the ransacking at the Capitol, a mob literally hunting down the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, gallows erected to hang the Vice President, Mike Pence. I think it's fair to say it's one of the darkest days in the history of America. Now the man who sent that mob to the U.S. Capitol is facing potential criminal conviction for what happened that day. And the American people deserve to have an answer in the courts before the upcoming election. The public has a right to know the answer about what happened on January 6th before they are asked to vote again this year. Now, because of today's decision, that is highly, highly unlikely. It's a terrible disservice to the people of this nation. So now the American people have to do what the courts should have been willing to do, but will not. The American people have to render a judgment about Donald Trump's behavior. The American people must decide whether Donald Trump's assault on our democracy on January 6th makes him unfit for public office in the highest office in the land. The American people must decide if Trump's embrace of violence to preserve his power is acceptable. Perhaps most importantly, the American people must decide if they want to entrust the President once again, the presidency, to Donald Trump, now knowing he'll be even more emboldened to do whatever he pleases whenever he wants to do it. You know, at the outset of our nation, it was the character of George Washington, our first president, to define the presidency. He believed power was limited, not absolute, and that power always resides with the people, always. Now, over 200 years later, with today's Supreme Court decision, once again, it will depend on the character of the men and women who hold that presidency that are going to define the limits of the power of the presidency, because the law will no longer do it. I know I will respect the limits of the presidential powers I have for 3.5 years, but any president, including Donald Trump, will now be free to ignore the law. I concur with Justice Sotomayor's dissent today. Here's what she said. She said, in every use of official power, the president is now a king above the law. With fear for our democracy, I dissent. End of quote. So should the American people dissent. I dissent. May God bless you all, and may God help preserve our democracy. Thank you. And may God protect our troops.
That's it. I'm not sure I dissent for the reasons I stated previously. I'm not sure that the analysis we heard right there is what's the right word? The way he is analyzing it, I don't think it is accurate. I don't think things have changed. I think that we have a ruling on something that was already in place. As Trump, I think so rightly sort of pointed out in the past, that's what this was about. He was saying he already had it, and the court has ruled thus. And it does not really put the president above the law. It applies the law as written in the Constitution. It applies the law, I think, in an appropriate way. It's like certain people in certain positions do have certain immunity to do certain kinds of things under the law. For instance, intelligence agencies, Secret Service agents, spies, they have immunity under certain situations to conduct certain kinds of operations. And they can do that legally. But if you or I were to do it, we wouldn't be operating in an official capacity. And so we can't just go around acting like that. A police officer is a good example. A police officer has the authority to issue a speeding ticket or arrest someone on a particular kind of crime. I don't have the authority to issue a speeding ticket. If I was a U.S. citizen, I wouldn't. Certainly don't have that here, but a police officer does. And so when the police officer acts in an official capacity with the support and endorsement of the community in that social contract and through codified law, it's an appropriate act because it's an official act being conducted. If the president just orders someone to be killed, like his next door neighbor, because his dog was barking, or if he ordered the guy's dog to be shot, then the president could still be charged and convicted because that's not actually an official act. That's something personal. And in a court of law, it would just stand up. So he's not just a king that can do anything he wants. Any act covered by immunity must be an official act, an act of government, an act of the president, carried out through the authority that comes from being in that position, in that office. So it's not, I don't think the way Biden and his administration is viewing this is accurate at all, nor were the dissenting justices. A president needs to have certain powers that others do not have, especially in this very dangerous world that we live in. That's the truth of the matter. And if you can't conduct yourself without fear of reprimand, maybe even jail time when you're the president, you're second guessing yourself all the time when it comes to carrying out any kind of official act. And you are then operating with one hand tied behind your back. You have a constant handicap where other world leaders do not, especially dictators. Military, crazy people who are running countries through coercion. Any other country, they will act with immunity because they are able to. They don't have the same kinds of restrictions. Even with this immunity, the truth of the matter is, I think the president still has a lot of restrictions placed upon him or her that other world leaders do not. And so the United States is always operating from a position of handicap, in my view, because the standard for any kind of action internationally, especially military action, while the United States is criticized wholesale across the board for any actions it ever takes, the truth of the matter is the United States is always expected to act with a much higher standard ethically. Other countries, especially countries like Russia, also I think are sort of held to a higher standard, but the United States in particular, you're not supposed to, the rules of war, rules of engagement, no collateral damage, no civilian casualties, precision-guided weapons to make sure that civilians are not killed. And anytime there's any action taken where civilians are killed, automatically there's, universal condemnation, even if it is just a military target that's taken out. The U.S. is always criticized. That just comes with being the world leader in anything, or the leader in anything. It's the penalty of leadership. That's something I should talk about in more detail another night. But if you're sitting there and you're the president and you can't, and you're worried that you might get in trouble if you order a missile strike against an enemy that's attacking you or the country, your hesitation might in itself become an existential threat to the country. So that's not, I want the president, and I'm not an American, but I still want the president to be able to act swiftly and with confidence in any situation and be able to take action militarily or non-militarily to protect the nation, to keep people safe. And the world needs to know that the president has that ability, because that knowledge alone is a deterrent. If an enemy knows that a president has one hand tied behind his or her back, that in itself is destabilizing, because automatically the U.S. is now operating from a position of weakness. Stay with me. I'll return on the other side of this.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Let's go to the comments section and see what you guys are saying about this. So you guys can weigh in on it. I'll just back up here a little bit. Isabel says, Biden does good with a teleprompter and drugs. Oh. Alicia says that's a double. Okay. Maggie G Creations says he is running scared. And who else do we have here? And Alicia says, I think Biden should be careful. His attacks on Trump is getting personal. And let's go over to, I'll pull that down. I'm going to go over to the Rumble channel and see what people are saying over there. David Doyle says, now you'll get busted, Joe. Whatever that means. Not exactly. Oh, yeah, right. Because of broad sweeping powers. And Lindy says, no, I can't repeat that. Canada Veritas says, King Trump forever. And Outmatched says, yes, Rick, I agree, but unfortunately, they have taken advantage of that power. I understand your comment. I do understand. All that being said, there is political reality out there, and yeah. And he says, I think Biden is so far gone, he don't know what drugs are. All right, let's move on to other stuff this evening. What else do we have? So a little bit more coming out about the Epstein stuff. I don't know how much detail I'll really be able to give you here tonight, folks, because I'm just one guy. And I'm just getting some information in here from somebody. So what do we know? We know that, it was this 4-year court battle to obtain secret grand jury materials. And now we have these documents tonight. So what's in these things? Let's see here. I've got this. So when the Palm Beach County Assistant State Attorney presented her case revolving around these documents, she asked a child testifying, it's all in these documents, whether she was aware you committed a crime, according to these transcripts. So the grand jury at that time came up with only one solicitation of prostitution charge against Epstein that didn't reflect the ages of the victims who testified. So this girl told, I guess, the assistant state attorney that she was 14 when she went to Epstein's mansion in Palm Beach. Now, she was 16 when she testified. And a juror asked the girl at that time, do you have any idea deep down inside of you that what you were doing is wrong? And the youth responded, yeah, I did. The juror went on and asked, have you set the goals to not do it anymore? Answer, yes. Juror, and you're well aware that what you were doing, what you were doing to your own reputation? She says, yes, I did. And then another question, you're aware that you committed a crime? Answer from the youth, yes, now I am. So what else can we learn from all of this? What charges did grand jurors have to choose from back then? What was the most serious charge on the menu? Well, Palm Beach police, they included 1 count of lewd and lascivious molestation and or 4 counts of unlawful sex with a minor, all second-degree felonies that had the potential that could have put Epstein away for 75 years at that time. Of course, there was that deal. And he didn't go to jail. Not then. So there's a lot more to come out of all of this. Now, I believe, based on these documents, that youth was described in these documents as a prostitute. That's how she was labeled. And at that time, according to state law, the age of consent was 18. But the state law also allowed children of her age at that time to be charged with prostitution. Not a pretty case at all. And Jeffrey Epstein, probably the most infamous pedophile in U.S. history at this point. What a shame. What a strange, strange time we're living in. Well, Choosy, I guess what we need to do is exile the Knights of Malta. Maybe that would help. Let's get back to that.
Exile. The Knights of Malta. Maverick News. Join us. The world is watching.
We also have this footage. Walkthrough of Epstein's property, Palm Beach. one of his properties anyway. This from the Palm Beach Post. I have to say, there is something kind of eerie or even creepy about it. It is true. Just looking at this footage, here's what it looks like. Painting. Looks like all the artwork has sexual theme to it. Bedside table. Shot of another bed. I don't know. I don't think there's anything sexual with that painting. Can't tell about that. Obviously, this shot a long time ago. Look at the TV, not a flat screen. Standard definition, square tube, CRT monitor, and a teddy bear. What was the year in 2006? I guess it says 2006 on the banner on the teddy bear. I think that's what it said. What's that a picture of? Can't really tell. And this red glowing light. Into the red light district of the home, I guess. Property, if you want to call it that. Strange layout. I don't know. I'm not sure what to make of that. Maybe nothing. So, there was a significant ruling over the past week. Actually came down, I believe, on Friday, and it could impact Joe Biden's environmental agenda. The U.S. Supreme Court has limited federal regulatory powers to interpret ambiguous laws. So this decision could undermine efforts to reduce tailpipe emissions from America's vehicle fleet. This coming from two environmental law experts. On Friday, the justices voted 6-3 to overturn the Chevron deference precedent from 1984. Now, that precedent required judges to defer to reasonable interpretations of U.S. law by federal agencies, even when those laws were ambiguous, like the Clean Air Act. So this ruling may make it more difficult for federal agencies to defend strict regulations across various sectors, including environmental and healthcare laws. The attorneys noted that Biden's initiative to cut greenhouse gas emissions from cars and trucks is particularly at risk. The reason is that these regulations target mobile sources of emissions rather than stationary ones like power plants, and current environmental laws are unclear on whether regulators have the authority to do this. Sherry Jackman, an environmental litigator in Los Angeles, has commented on this, highlighting ongoing debates about the Environmental Protection Agency's authority to regulate emissions from mobile sources. Transportation accounts for about 1/4 of U.S. carbon output, as measured by the government, making it a key focus for the Biden administration's climate change efforts. The EPA has yet to comment on this ruling. Environmental groups noted that the EPA's other significant climate rules, like those for power plant emissions, seem more secure, and that the agency has recently been crafting regulations without relying on the Chevron deference. Meanwhile, interest groups, including automakers and oil companies, have already launched several challenges to the Biden administration's vehicle emissions plan. These challenges argue that the rules would push everything from passenger cars to heavy-duty trucks to go electric. Some of these challenges have succeeded in weakening EPA regulations in the past, and the recent Supreme Court decision could influence pending cases. A significant development as the government continues to keep the accelerator to the floor on the move to go all electric with our automobiles and transportation systems. Stay tuned on that one. It is Canada Day, ladies and gentlemen. Big day and celebrations underway in many places across the country. Some of them canceled, though, as we mentioned last night. That is because government funding for some of these celebrations has dried up. Isn't that strange? Well, they still had a Canada Day event in Ottawa, and I warned you I was going to torture you, but don't worry. I think you'll actually enjoy the pain. We're going to pick up Chrystia Freeland, Deputy Prime Minister, on the stage in Ottawa at today's Canada Day celebrations. There, as she addresses the crowd and then introduces an address by the Prime Minister. We're going to play this and critique it, comment on it, on this recording as we watch. Let's do it together, shall we? Here's Chrystia Freeland. Just pull that down so that we don't get a copyright strike on the music. And here she is. Oh, she's waiting.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Canada Day! Bonne fête du Canada.
Okay, right out of the gate, I have to say there's something about her voice. There's just something that grates on me. I don't know about you guys. You feel free to chime in on the in the comments section, but there's just something about her voice. It's particularly annoying when she screeches, "Mr. Speaker," like the Wicked Witch of the North, the Great White North. But I don't know, even here, just her voice. It's her voice.
I'd like to start by thanking you, Elder Claudette Commanda, for sharing your words of welcome and starting today's ceremonies in such a good way. Miigwech. Je voudrais commencer par reconnaître que nous sommes réunis sur le territoire non cédé de la nation algonquienne Anishinaabe, dont l'histoire, la culture et la présence ont nourri le sol même sur lequel nous nous trouvons depuis des millénaires.
For our American friends, she just said what she said before, but she said it in French.
Je suis très heureuse d'être ici
And now
avec
she's
vous tous,
continuing to speak
ainsi qu'avec
in
ma
French.
chère collègue, la ministre
In case you
Pascale
haven't clued in,
Saint-Onge,
this is French.
pour célébrer la fête du Canada. Today is such a great day. Today is a time for us to reflect on the values that unite us as Canadians. For generations, we Canadians have worked and sometimes fought to build a Canada where everyone can share in the promise of our great country.
I don't know if the Liberals really have values anymore. I don't know how you claim to have values when you have a prime minister and a deputy prime minister supporting the prime minister who says that Canada has no culture, no actual identity. And if it's a post-nation state, as Justin Trudeau has said, then what values do we really share? I think that these are empty words being conveyed to people on a day that is supposed to be a day of national celebration after a couple of, after 2 terms of, it's been so long. How many years have we had Justin Trudeau in office now? 8, 9? Better part of a decade. These are just, in my view, empty words for Canadians after we've had a government that has done nothing but launch assault after assault on the nation.
Our work is and always will be unfinished. There are old problems we have yet to solve and fresh challenges for us to meet.
Because the government created these problems. Inflation, cost, can't live, can't afford groceries, crime in the streets, people protesting, fighting. A country divided, polarized like never before. Heck, we're just like on the cusp of maybe even some massive internal conflict, and it's just ongoing. It just doesn't stop.
But today is the one day of the year when we can set aside our national modesty and proudly declare that our Canada, our true north, strong and free, is the best country in the world.
Seems disingenuous, and it's only today. It's just tomorrow. No, there won't be any national pride at all again. You'll see. There wasn't yesterday, and there won't be tomorrow, and today it's just fake.
It really is. Nous avons une démocratie vigoureuse et des institutions solides. Nous sommes un pays d'équité et de liberté.
Still don't believe it, even in French.
Nous défendons ces valeurs à la fois chez nous et dans le monde entier.
At least you wore a red dress.
De nombreuses personnes dans le monde entier aimeraient vivre ici. Most importantly, ours is a country of good, kind people.
Well, I do have faith in the people.
Of neighbors who will make you soup and shovel your driveway when you're sick. Of entire communities who come together.
My dad does that. That is a Canadian thing. My dad, he is incredible. He has a snowblower, and whenever it snows, he doesn't just clear his own driveway. He goes around the whole street and clears, like he literally does this. He clears out all the neighbors' driveways too. It's just amazing. And they're like, oh, who did my driveway? It's always my dad. He just goes around and does that for people. I don't know. It's just, that's what he does.
To sponsor families fleeing war or devastation.
Well, come on, clap. You didn't get the cue. It's just to tell people.
Those communities sure deserve a hand. We have so much to be proud of and so much to be grateful for. Because what really makes Canada great
Tell that to the people in the tent cities.
Canadians. Each one of us, every single person here, every single person watching, builds our great country every day in the generosity we show a stranger, in our hard work in canola fields and research labs, in our dedicated and loving teaching of our children. And Elder Commanda, they really are our future.
Cliches, but some truth in it. It's
Alors
just
que
still
nous
seems
célébrons
disingenuous.
le 157e anniversaire
What are
du
you guys
Canada,
saying in the chat?
engageons-nous à travailler ensemble chaque jour
H says my dad is a
pour
good man. It's
bâtir
true, he
un
is.
Canada qui garantit l'équité et la liberté pour chaque génération. Aujourd'hui,
Deborah says
et pour les
Freeland has
années
the same
à
dress in blue
venir.
and black. Probably. I think it does look familiar.
Bonne fête du Canada à tout le monde!
Maggie says Freeland is satanic.
Happy
Alonso
Canada Day, everyone.
says
It's a
tyrannical
beautiful
government in
day.
Canada.
We live
Tyrannical
in the best country in the world, and I am so glad that we're celebrating here together.
Blah, blah, blah. Antonio says, good
And
evening,
now
my neighbor.
it's my pleasure
puts his
to
snow on my
introduce
driveway.
our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau.
Oh no!
Hello everyone, bonjour à tous, and happy Canada Day. I'm sorry I can't be with you today for this incredible show. Et merci beaucoup à tous ceux qui ont travaillé très fort pour organiser les activités d'aujourd'hui. Qu'il vous ait fallu marcher quelques minutes ou prendre
I'm too
l'avion pour
busy
venir ici,
flying on a
que
jet,
vous habitiez au Canada
burning up
ou que vous
carbon
soyez
fuel.
en visite, aujourd'hui,
More
on
carbon
se
fuel than
réunit pour célébrer le
you guys are
meilleur
allowed to burn
pays
in
au
a year.
monde. We're celebrating the incredible people, the land, and the story that is Canada. It's a story that began more than 157 years ago with Indigenous peoples who've called this land home since time immemorial. It's a story of resilience. C'est aussi une histoire de sacrifice. Lorsque les soldats canadiens ont pris d'assaut les plages de Normandie pour défendre la liberté, ils savaient qu'ils risquaient leur vie. Mais la liberté, même celle de ceux qui se trouvaient de l'autre côté d'un océan, et celle de générations de personnes qu'ils n'allaient jamais rencontrer, valait la peine d'être défendue. Our rights and freedoms are never guaranteed. They're safeguarded every day by trailblazers, journalists, activists, organizers. People who want to keep building a country
People that he
where we
wants
can
to put in
disagree,
jail.
sometimes passionately, but where we always
Especially
come
those fighting
together
for freedom.
in the pursuit of something greater than ourselves. A country where everyone has a fair shot, no matter who they are, where they come from, how they pray, or whom they love.
Unless it's
Those
a
are the
group
values
that he
that
doesn't
hold
like.
us together as Canadians. They're the reason so many people save up everything they have and leave
And
behind
try to buy
everything
their
they
groceries
know to be a part
every
of
week.
our story.
And always come up
It's
short.
a story that
and
includes
live on
injustices,
craft
ones that we are confronting on our shared path of reconciliation. It's a story of learning that we're stronger not in spite of our differences, but because of them.
Learning that your dollar
And
just
it's a story
doesn't go as far
that's
as it
still
used to.
being written by incredible Canadians who are stepping up for their
Because of
community
massive
and their
inflation.
country. Des personnes courageuses, bienveillantes et résilientes qui sont au cœur de l'histoire du Canada. Voici pourquoi notre pays est le meilleur endroit au monde, parce que des gens ne cessent de travailler fort pour le rendre encore meilleur. Alors, continuons nos efforts pour être à la hauteur de tout ce que le Canada a à nous offrir. So enjoy the show. And happy Canada Day.
All right. That was it. There's Justin Trudeau, your prime minister, with words of I don't know, what would you call that? Was that inspiring in any way? Well, I'm a little biased, I guess, but I haven't forgotten what he did to us. And I'm still seeing what he's doing to us. His days are numbered. We need to get our country back. And I'll be back tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll keep working at doing just that, getting our country back, by working to get us closer to the truth here on the Maverick News Channel. Love you guys. See you tomorrow on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.